In 1969, a small Scandinavian country with fewer people than New York City discovered something under the North Sea that would change everything. Oil. Not a little oil, a lot of oil. And here is where the story should end, the same way it always does. Corruption, inflation, civil war, a handful of elites getting obscenely wealthy while the rest of the country stays poor. It is a pattern so predictable, economists actually gave it a name: the resource curse. Nigeria had oil. Venezuela had oil. Angola had oil. Norway had oil too. But Norway did something almost no country in history has ever done. It got rich, stayed rich, and is still getting richer decades after the oil started running out. How? That is the question worth asking, because the answer is not what most people think. Let us rewind to 1969. Norway was not exactly struggling, but it wasn't flush either. A mid-tier European country. Fishing, shipping, lumber, modest. Then a drilling company called Phillips Petroleum hit the Ekofisk field, and suddenly Norway was sitting on one of the largest offshore oil deposits ever discovered. The government had a choice, and this is where most countries make the fatal mistake. The temptation is to spend. Roads, subsidies, salaries. Politicians love spending oil money because it makes them popular immediately. The problem is immediate. When the oil runs out or prices crash, there is nothing left. Just debt, inflation, and a population that got used to money that no longer exists. Venezuela tried to spend its way to prosperity. At its peak, it was one of the wealthiest nations in South America. Today, people are leaving by the millions. Norway looked at that playbook and put it in the bin. In 1990, Norway created the Government Pension Fund Global. Most people call it the Oil Fund. The concept is almost offensively simple. Take the money the government earns from oil, don't spend it, invest it, all of it, into foreign stocks, bonds, and real estate spread across 70 countries and over 9,000 companies. Apple, Microsoft, Nestle, Samsung, you name it, Norway probably owns a piece of it. Today, that fund is worth over $1.7 trillion. That's not a typo. $1.7 trillion for a country of 5 million people. If you divided it equally, every single Norwegian citizen would get roughly $340,000 just from this fund alone. And here's the part that sounds like a magic trick. Norway doesn't actually touch the principal. They only spend the returns. Specifically, they operate under a rule that caps government withdrawals at around 3% of the fund per year. The idea being that the interest keeps growing faster than they spend it. In theory, the fund could last forever. Now here's where the story gets slightly uncomfortable. Norway didn't just stumble into discipline. It built institutions, laws, and political consensus over decades. The fund is managed independently of day-to-day politics. Governments can't just crack it open because they need votes before an election. That separation between the money and the politicians is the actual secret, and that's extraordinarily rare, rarer than striking oil in the first place. Most democracies can't do this. The political incentive to spend now is almost always stronger than the economic logic to save for later. Norway essentially found a way to protect its future from its present. But here's the part they don't talk about in the brochure. Norway is still pumping oil, aggressively. It's one of the largest oil exporters in the world, even as it pushes ambitious green energy targets at home. There is a quiet contradiction sitting at the center of the Norwegian model. A country celebrated globally for its wealth fund, its social equity, and its climate ambitions is still drilling. The fund itself invests in fossil fuel companies. Norway gets to be the world's responsible saver while also being one of the world's bigger contributors to the problem that's making savings necessary in the first place. So what's the lesson here? Save, not spend? Build independent institutions? Think long-term? Sure, all of that is true. But maybe the deeper question is this. Norway had oil, the right timing, a small population, and 60 years of political stability to pull this off. Most countries have none of those things. So when the next resource-rich nation strikes it lucky, and one will they look at Norway and learn? Or will they look at the short term like they always do? The math is not the hard part. It never was.